Welcome to Conversations with Clara, made for the modern woman who wants to raise her self-esteem, increase her satisfaction, and build happy and loving relationships with herself and others. More and more, women feel they have lost their spark and the connection to themselves, and miss deep intimacy in their lives. Rather than accept a life that doesn't shine, they want to change to one that does. Join the conversation each week when Clara and her guests explore practical ways and positive solutions to living a new, authentic life based on self-love, connection, harmony, and joy. Now, here is your host, transformation catalyst, author, and speaker, Clara.
Hello to Conversations with Clara, and I am so happy to have Vincent Clohessy again on my show. Welcome, Vincent.
Thank you, Clara. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Would you please introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, my name is Vincent Clohessy. I am a love and relationship coach, and I help women to reignite the passion with their husbands when things are taking a downward trajectory. You and I met in Ibiza about 8 years ago, I think it was. Both of us training at Sage University to become coaches. I'm based in London, 47, and happy to be here to share what works and what doesn't in life and in relationships.
Yes, and that's cool. We are already a good team together in those shows.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And today we want to talk about big visions and stuff like that. So we just hopped off a group call where everybody had such a feeling of the density that's around us. And, you know, when we are recording this, we are in the lockdown of the coronavirus. So whenever you are watching it, that you know what this is about. And all those heavy influences that are around us at the moment, that they affect us if we want or if we don't want, right?
Yes. I guess a lot of the things that affect us, Clara, we have little control over, like the imposition of lockdown and the restrictions that we have. There is some degree, I mean, you have the free will to break these restrictions if you wish, but generally most people are happy to contribute by accepting them. But then there's the stuff you do have control over, which is what's coming in from media and other sources. And it seems to be that there's a lot of stress caused, especially at these times with such tumultuous events happening globally, that you can become really quite overwhelmed by all the negativity. So that you have control over.
Exactly.
And I think this is where we're going to discuss kind of like ways to mitigate any negative impact.
Yeah. And I always say, because one person in our group was overwhelmed with the negative inputs, but they wanted to watch it or listen to it, and they were confused. What is the truth and what is not the truth? And I said, everything is true for the person who believes that. So, and I'm really an advocate for that there are several truths, not only one. And it's in your own hand what you want to believe and what you want to listen to.
Yeah, it's a great point, Clara. There's information and data that comes into us, but we need to process it. And when we do process it, it gets influenced by our biases, our prejudices, past experiences, our beliefs, our own processes of thinking. And then we believe we arrive at some sort of understanding. But actually, there are so many variables for us to get to that truth that actually my truth is not going to be the same as yours, even though we've seen the same thing or had the same input. So whose truth is true? I think it's fair to say it's entirely subjective.
Exactly. And I think that's a time to really cultivate tolerance in all areas.
Yeah, indeed. It's interesting how you can become, you can reactivate or become reactivated by so much of what's coming at you, and it can disturb you if you're not clear about the nature of what's coming at you and what you're doing with it. For some people, it just bowls them over. For other people, they just put their head in the sand and don't want to deal with any of it. And then there's probably somewhere in the middle where you can be at peace with what's coming in, because you're understanding it's you who's making the meaning and generating the reaction, rather than it being the stimulus, which is, for me, Clara, happens to be Twitter. So that's where I get all of this stuff coming through. And I have a very broad range, like across the political spectrum. I listen to everything, from the far left to the far right, and then everything in between. So you can imagine just how much different opinion and perspective and experience is coming in from these different people around the same topic. And it can be quite challenging to make head or tails of it, or to make sense of it, or to figure out what is actually going on.
Wow.
So, yes.
Really interesting. And how do you navigate that? Because my approach is totally different. I am not watching anything that brings my energy down, let's say it like that. Everything that's too negative, I'm just ignoring it somehow as soon as I can, and some things I cannot. So as you said before, different approaches. What are you doing with all these influences to not lose your big vision of your life?
Great question, Clara. And it is one, having a big vision of my life, but also having like a context for all of this input and this information. And for me, the context is, I'm always looking to have or generate for myself a life that works for me, and one that is nurturing and supportive. And so when I'm engaging with this information, there's like a filter that I've already put in place. So I'm kind of viewing what I'm seeing on video, or articles that I'm reading, or Twitter, or things that I'm listening to. There's like a bigger context that I've got for myself and for my life. And that's where I'm kind of like centered from this perspective of wanting to ensure I have a life of peace and love and harmony and joy and adventure. And so I kind of know where I am, and I know what I want, and I know where I'm going. And so when I'm dealing with this type of input, I'm quite centered. And so I think there's a healthy process that I have in place, so that when I'm engaging with this material, the context I have is I'm building a life that is of meaning for me, and it's a good life. And does this information support that process? Does it support that journey? And even negative information can be really interesting and impactful and beneficial, because I do like to have an understanding and an idea of what's happening out in my world, because it influences the choices that I make in designing my future. So having that, it's like a step back and a step up, and an elevated perspective on the information that's coming in, so I don't feel overwhelmed by it or knocked off of my center. I'm really quite clear, like, who I am, what I want, where I'm going, how I'm going to get there. And then all of this information then has a perspective, and that is, I can take it or leave it, I can use it or abuse it, and it's not something that necessarily causes me anxiety, because I'm already clear about what I'm doing and where I'm going. But I can imagine if you haven't got a clear understanding of what you are, who you are, and what you need, and where you're going, you can actually be thrown about by all of these political and social events that are occurring at the moment. So for me, it's having done the work, having taken the time to get to know myself and understand myself, and know what I need and what I don't need. And this has been really useful for me. But how about you, Clara? What are you doing to help? I know you mentioned you're probably not wanting to engage with it. Is that correct?
Yeah, not too much. So because I know everything is about energy, and when my energy is too low, nothing is working out. So, but anyway, life is like that in waves. It's not a straight line. And from time to time, I also have those downward things. And it's really great to have a vision. And this is something that's not so easy for me. That people are different types. People like you, they know exactly what they want and they go for that. People like me have a little bit more difficulties to find what they really want, because I have too many options. I think I would like, let's take a simple example. So I have the idea to live in a big, luxurious house. And on the same side, I think, do you really want that? A little tiny, nice, cozy house is also something that you would love to live in. So what am I doing with these contradictory things? So the approach that I have at the moment, because I'm really at the moment I'm in a state where I really need to figure out where I want to go to, because I need to have a crystal clear way to go to. That doesn't mean that I reach it on that direct, clear way, but it's always good to have a direction, because if I don't have it, I'm not going anywhere. And that's what's happening right at the moment, to be honest. Yeah. I'm not different than other people out there. I have the same challenges. So I am now figuring out what I want in journaling, in writing what comes up from my soul. Mm-hmm. And then I'm looking, where is the tendency? Where is my emotion bigger? And that's the way. And then I'm still open enough for things to happen. So it's nothing fixed. And
wow.
This is what I am suggesting to people who are not really clear what they want to do, to ask themselves, what could it be? And how does that feel?
Yes, this is great, Clara. So it's so interesting that we have this sense of like direction, or like a goal you want to achieve, or a place you want to get to. But that is not the be all and end all in itself. For me, it's really understanding, what does it represent? What does that big house represent to you? What will it fulfill? What's the promise of it? Because it's really a pile of very well organized materials: bricks, wood, glass, metal. That's what that house is. So that is not actually really what you want and what you're after, I'm quite sure. There's something else. And it's the same with the smaller place. Like, that actually represents something. And what I find interesting is finding out, like, what's underneath it for Clara. Yeah. What is it that, like, her spirit wants, her soul wants, her heart wants, that acts as a fulfillment, that house. And so this, and I really acknowledge the inquiry you go through with the journaling, where you're allowing your voice to come out and to be visible on the page, so that you can then start to see clearer what it is that you need and that you want. And I also acknowledge your flexibility, very feminine energy, where it's not fixed and exact, but it's more dancing with the opportunities and the possibilities, rather than like nailing one to the wall and saying, right, that's it.
Great that
which is the more masculine way of doing it.
That you're bringing that up, because that's the difference between the feminine and the masculine, which is in every person, no matter which gender. But men usually tend to be more straight on.
Yeah,
that's also true. And
so it's interesting, Clara, because you and I are both kind of heading to the same location. It's just that mine is kind of like a straight line, and yours
exactly
is wavy. Yeah.
And what I also wanted to add is, it's no difference in which area of life you are doing this. I just mentioned the house as a simple idea, but you can do that also with your relationship. You can do that with your finance situation, whatever you want to do. And the two of us, we are very much into relationships, as you might know. So if you sit down and feel into what do you want in your relationships, that was German, be it the romantic relationship or relationships to other people in general.
Yeah. Clara, it's a rare question that people ask themselves. There's like it occurs to me that they know they have a need and a want and a desire, but it's not necessarily vocalized or expressed clearly. And it's such a wonderful inquiry to ask yourself, why do I want this relationship? What does this giving me what I want and it looking like the way I want it to? What does it give me? What does that look like? And for me, it's such a brilliant inquiry, because when you're clear about what it is that you want, it's so much easier to get it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much easier to understand when it's not turning up that way. But if it's not distinguished, if it's not established in your mind about what you want, I think you can be left in a limbo or in a lot of confusion, because things may appear to be going well, but they don't satisfy your needs. And that's because you haven't established clearly what it is that you would like to get from that dynamic. So the more you go through that process you've mentioned, I think the better. Just bringing clarity all the time, more and more clarity.
Yeah, that's really important. The more clear you are, the more you attract the right people.
Yeah, and I also think it aids and improves the likelihood of you finding the fulfillment that you want when you're really clear. It's the difference between, am I hungry or am I thirsty? I know I have something I need, and if I'm not clear that actually what I need, I'm thirsty, but then I end up eating, I'll be dissatisfied, but also probably confused, because I think I've dealt with the need that I had, but actually I haven't distinguished clearly I was thirsty rather than hungry. And it's really kind of that simple. Getting clear. What do I want? What do I need? What does it look like? How will I know when it arrives? What can I do to cause it to happen? These are the things that really increase the chances of having the relationship give you what it is you want it to give you. And if you're not clear about that, there's only one thing to do, and that's get clear.
Mm-hmm. And too often we stumble into relationships because of that fairy tale ideas that we were brought up with. And we think, okay, everything is automatically like it should be. It's yes and no, but if you know what you want, you can steer it into the right direction. If you don't know what you want, you get what you need in that very moment.
Yeah. So it's just clarity, getting clear about what you want. That's where it starts.
Okay, Vincent, thank you so much for
Clara,
being on my show again. I hope that will happen in the future again.
Me too.
And thank you, listeners and watchers. And if you like this episode, I would love you to come back and listen to the next ones, or the ones I have before. Vincent, I will put your details in the links, but please mention them quickly here.
Okay, so you can go to the World of Love website, or you can call me in the UK on 07960 671 904. I'm a love and relationship coach and a life coach, and I offer a 1-hour exploration session for anybody who's interested in getting what they want, either in life or in love.
Oh, that's a great offer. Thank you so much, everybody, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Right. Cheers, Clara. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Clara. Remember to follow us on social media and get connected. Visit our website, conversationswithclara.com, for show notes and additional episodes. And if you like this broadcast, Please share it with your friends to help us empower more women to live an authentic and happy life and make this world a better place for everyone.